Hello everybody, nice to see you again. Last time we did about chapter 3 and chapter 4, right? So, chapter 3 was about the comics that George and Harold made, homemade comics. And chapter 4 was about the principal, Mr. Carob. He's the meanest, yeah, and he hated George and Harold the most. So, this time it's time for chapter 5 and chapter 6. Let's begin. Remember when I said that George and Harold's silly streak got them into big trouble once? Yeah, maybe you were really wondering about that. So, well, this is the story of how that happened and how some huge pranks and a little blackmail turned their principal into the coolest superhero of all time. It was the day of the big football game between the Hortwilts Chuckleheads and the Simblil Stinkbugs. The stands were packed with fans. So a football game, huh? The cheerleaders ran onto the field and shook their pom-poms over their heads. A fine black dust drifted out of their pom-poms and settled all around them. "Give me an K!" shouted the cheerleaders. "K!" repeated the fans. "Give me an N!" shouted the cheerleaders. "N!" repeated the fans. "Give me an achoo!" sneezed the cheerleaders. Achoo! repeated the fans. I don't know how did they follow that, because doing sneezing is hard to repeat, right? When you're not when you don't want to sneeze. Yeah. So the cheerleaders sneezed and sneezed and sneezed some more. They couldn't stop sneezing. "Hey!" shouted a fan in the stands. "Somebody sprinkled black pepper into the cheerleaders' pom-poms." "I wonder who did that?" asked another fan. The cheerleaders stumbled off the field, sneezing and dripping with mucus, as the marching band members took their places. But when the band began to play, steady streams of bubbles began blowing out of their instruments. Bubbles were everywhere. Up and down the field, the marching band slipped and slid, leaving behind a thick trail of wet, bubbly foam. "Hey!" shouted a fan in the stands. "Somebody poured bubble bath into the marching band's instruments." "I wonder who did that?" asked another fan. Soon the football team took the field. The knucklehead kicked the ball. Up went the ball. Higher and higher it went. The ball sailed into the clouds and kept right on going until nobody could see it anymore. "Hey!" shouted a fan in the stands. "Somebody filled the game ball with helium." "I wonder who did that?" asked another fan. But the missing ball didn't make any difference because at the moment the chuckleheads were rolling around the field, scratching and itching like crazy. "Hey!" shouted the coach. "Somebody replaced our deep-hitting mustard rub lotion with Mr. Prankster's extra scratchy itching cream." "We wonder who did that!" shouted the fans in the stands. The whole afternoon went on much the same way, with people shouting everything from "Hey! Somebody put sea monkeys in the lemonade!" to "Hey! Somebody glued all the bathroom doors shut!" Before long, most of the fans in the stands had left. The big game had been forfeited, and everyone in the entire school was miserable. So they made other things, they changed other things as well. So they changed "Boy, our feet smell bad." Everyone, that is except for two giggling boys crouching in the shadows beneath the stands. "Those were our best pranks yet," laughed Harold. "Yup," chuckled George. "They will be hard to top, that's for sure." "I just hope we don't get busted for this," said Harold. "Don't worry," said George. "We covered our tracks really well. There's no way we will get get busted. Chapter 6, Busted. It's not a good story. Like, I think it will be not a good story. Yeah. And the title of chapter is a little gruesome, you know. So let's start. The next day at school, an announcement came over the loudspeakers. George Beard and Harold Hutchins, please report to Principal Corrupt's office at once. Uh-oh, said Harold. I don't like the sound of that. Don't worry, said George. They can't prove anything. George and Harold entered Principal Corrupt's office and sat down on the chairs in front of his desk. The two boys had been in his office together countless times before, but this time was different. Mr. Corrupt was smiling. As long as George and Harold had known Mr. Corrupt, they had never ever seen him smile. Mr. Corrupt knew something. I didn't see you boys at the big game yesterday, said Mr. Corrupt. No, said George. We weren't feeling well. Yeah, Harold stammered nervously. We went home. Ah, that's too bad, said Principal Corrupt. You boys missed a good game. George and Harold quickly glanced at each other, gulped, and tried hard not to look guilty. Lucky for you, I have a videotape of the whole thing, Mr. Corrupt said. He turned on the television in the corner and pressed the play button on the VCR. A black and white image appeared on the TV screen. It was an overhead shot of George and Harold sprinkling pepper into the cheerleaders' pom-poms. Next came a shot of George and Harold pouring liquid bubbles bath into the charming band's instruments. How do you like the pre-game show? Asked Mr. Corrupt with the devilish grin. George eyed the television screen in terror. He couldn't answer. Harold's eyes were glued to the floor. He couldn't look. The tape went on, revealing all of George and Harold's behind-the-scenes antics. By now, both boys were eyeing the floor, squirming nervously and dripping with sweat. Mr. Corrupt turned off the TV. You know, he said, ever since you boys came to this school, it's been one prank after another. First, you put dissected frogs in the salad at the parent-teacher banquet. Then you made it snow in the cafeteria. Then you rigged all the intercoms so they played weird A.L. Yankovic songs full blast for 6 hours straight. For 4 long years, you two have been running amok in this school, and I've never been able to prove anything until now. Mr. Corrupt held the videotape in his hand. I took the liberty of installing tiny video surveillance cameras all around the school. I knew I'd catch you two in the act one day. I just didn't know it would be so easy. Now, they're getting busted, and they're going to get more busted in chapter 7, and you will be surprised. Yeah, they will get really bad punishments. So that's the end of chapter 6, and I will bring you chapter 7 and chapter 8 next time. Oh wait, and I read all the books, all the Captain Underpants books. There are 10 of them. Yeah, there are 10 series of it, and I read all of them. And wait a minute, I should bring a notebook. So here, I wrote some things that I imagined, and I also I drew it, something that I saw from here. I just drew it. Can you see it? I'm not sure, but there are drawings of my things. I drew this. This is a poster, but the other things is not. It's like this. Oh, and also like this. It's a fantasy. I drew them and like I just imagined them. George and Harold become rich, and here they became principals, and here they are eating some weird things, and here they're sleeping, and here it's some kind of TV, and here they're building a robot. Can you see it? Yeah. So like that's what I drew, and like I'm drawing it a lot these days because like it inspires me what to draw, and I really lost track of time with it, and I got scolded by my mother. So you can try it as well, but I should like tell you to set an alarm, or you will lose track of time as well. So anyway, bye.